The France, kicked out of the Sahel, isn't backing down. It's betting on robots and drones to regain control. A war without soldiers, but with machines, where technology becomes the alibi for a new form of domination. Who programs these devices? Who pays the price for this modernity? And above all, how far will this race to high-tech militarization go? Today, we dive into the underbelly of a strategy that, under the guise of innovation, reveals the old reflexes of a power-losing ground, ready to do anything to save face. If you're not yet subscribed, you're missing out on essential news. To stay well informed, you just need to be in the right place. And that place is here, on the Carlos Lucas channel. So click, subscribe, and stay awake. Picture the scene. Bamako, Ouagadougou, Niamey. Since 2020, the streets have been ablaze. France Get Out signs rise, tricolor flags burn, and military juntas in power slam the door on the former colonial power. Operation Barkhane, France's showcase for its anti-terrorist fight in the Sahel, collapses like a house of cards. French military bases shut down, convoys leave Mali under jeers, and populations fed up voice their exasperation with decades of interference disguised as aid. Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, these countries long under France's shadow are claiming their sovereignty. But Paris, humiliated, isn't admitting defeat. Far from it. In the shadows, it's weaving a new web, not with soldiers but with machines, robots, drones, mobile microfactories, a war without a face, without a human footprint, but with cold efficiency. Welcome to the laboratory of the war of the future, where France turns its African debacle into a high-tech showcase with one goal: to stay in the game. Since 2023, the French Ministry of the Armed Forces has launched a program that speaks volumes: Droid-E. A name that sounds like science fiction, but it's very real. The Droid-E framework aims to develop multi-mission ground robotic systems capable of handling logistics, reconnaissance, and even combat. The idea: replace soldiers with machines, limit human losses, on the French side of course, and allow the military to project power without risking another wave of popular anger. These robots, designed to navigate the hostile terrains of the Sahel, are built to tackle operational challenges: unpredictable dunes, extreme temperatures, asymmetric conflicts where the enemy wears no uniform. But that's not all. While Droid lays the groundwork for a robotic war, a French startup, Perse Systems, steps into the spotlight with an invention that has the military salivating: a mobile microfactory, a trailer parked in the heart of a war zone capable of producing FPV combat drones in just 3 hours, up to 10 drones per hour when the 3D printers are running at full capacity. Founded in 2023 by Paul Pelletier and Julien Ferraut, this startup has already won over the French army. Their prototype, the SL-450, an autonomous target drone designed in just weeks, impressed the 17th Artillery Group. But their real feat is this factory on wheels, a direct response to a harsh reality. Drones have become the munitions of the 21st century. Take the example of Ukraine. There, the war has exposed a raw truth. FPV drones, those low-cost kamikaze devices, are redefining the battlefield. We're talking about 10,000 drones used each month, machines that strike tanks, bunkers, soldiers with surgical precision from miles away. But this massive consumption reveals a weakness. Traditional, centralized, slow, vulnerable supply chains can't keep up. Modern armies need to produce on-site, as close to the front as possible. And that's where Perse Systems comes in. Their microfactory, set up in a simple trailer, combines 3D printers capable of churning out drones on demand. No more waiting for deliveries from distant factories, often thousands of miles away. This innovation is a tactical revolution, but also a symptom. Because behind the technological feats, there's a darker agenda. France, expelled from the Sahel, wants to regain control through technology. And the mainstream media? They're silent. They sell you the story of a bold startup, an innovative army, but they don't talk about the real questions. Who benefits from this militarization? Who controls these machines? And above all, who pays the price? Let's be clear, this race to drones and robots isn't just a technological advance, it's a geopolitical strategy. France, after being humiliated by the Sahel's people, is looking to reinvent itself. No more soldiers on the ground, no more visible bases, no more coffins to repatriate under the cameras. Instead, machines, invisible, relentless, that monitor, strike, control. It's war by proxy, version 2.0. Look at what's happening elsewhere. In Ukraine, FPV drones have transformed modern warfare, allowing operators, safely tucked away miles from the action, to destroy targets with terrifying precision. But in the Sahel, where conflicts are asymmetric, where civilians mix with fighters in an indecipherable chaos, these drones risk becoming tools of mass surveillance or even repression. Picture a village lost in the desert, buzzed by a swarm of French drones programmed thousands of miles away. Who decides the target? An algorithm? An operator in an air-conditioned room in Paris? And when a mistake happens, a wedding bombed, a school hit, who's held accountable? No one. France positions itself as a pioneer, but it's walking a tightrope. Compare it to the United States. Their Reaper drones in the Middle East have caused thousands of civilian deaths, often swept under the rug as collateral damage. France is following the same path under the shiny label of innovation, and behind it there's a thriving business. Percy Systems is the archetype of a startup riding the wave of militarization. The arms industry smells a goldmine, and Africa once again becomes a testing ground for the high-tech toys of great powers. But who really benefits from this revolution? Not the people of the Sahel, that's for sure. For them, these drones and robots aren't futuristic gadgets, they're threats. In the short term, they allow France to maintain a military presence remotely without risking popular backlash. No more bases, no more soldiers. A drone can sweep over the desert, spy, strike, and leave no trace. But in the medium term, it's a new form of interference. The people who drove France out through street protests could find themselves under the yoke of flying machines controlled from afar. And in the long term, we're talking about a global militarization where drones become as commonplace as bullets, but with unmatched power for destruction and surveillance. For African youth dreaming of sovereignty, it's a brutal message. Your independence will be monitored, your freedom conditional. And you, behind your screen, are you still shocked? Or have you grown used to a world where technology is used to sidestep the will of the people? Economically, the winners are elsewhere. French industrialists like Percy Systems are raking in contracts, selling their drones not just to the French army, but potentially to other powers. War becomes a market, and France, losing ground in Africa, wants its share of the pie. But for freedoms, it's another story. A robotic war is a war where responsibility vanishes. A drone that strikes by mistake has no face. A robot that kills has no conscience. And for the climate? These microfactories, these disposable drones, are a new source of pollution in regions already ravaged by desertification and ecological crises. 3D printers churning out drones on an assembly line might be a technical marvel, but they're also an environmental disaster. And then there's the ethical question, the one carefully avoided in the French Army's triumphant press releases. Who programs these machines? Who sets their targets? And what happens when a drone built in 3 hours in a trailer explodes in the wrong place? France, in its rush to robotization, is opening a Pandora's box. A war where humans fade away, where responsibility evaporates, where profits soar. Because make no mistake, behind Droid, behind Percy Systems, there's an ecosystem of interests. Industrialists, investors, policymakers, they all stand to gain. Arms trade shows, where drones are sold like smartphones, are booming. France, which has lost its aura in the Sahel, wants to reposition itself as a leader in high-tech warfare. And it's not alone. Look at China, flooding Africa with cheap drones. Look at Israel, a champion of surveillance technologies. France wants its place in this race, and it's ready to do whatever it takes, even turning the Sahel into a testing ground for its deadly toys. So what does this change for us? For citizens? For the youth? For those dreaming of a fairer world? In the short term, not much if you live far from the Sahel, but don't be fooled. What's happening there concerns us all. If France succeeds in imposing its robotic war, this model could become the norm. Imagine FPV drones over our cities, monitoring, controlling, striking in the name of security. Imagine a world where armies no longer need soldiers, just technicians and algorithms. For African youth, it's a future where sovereignty remains a mirage, where technology props up the old order. For all of us, it's a wake-up call. High-tech militarization isn't a solution, it's a problem. And for the climate, it's yet another disaster in a world that doesn't need more sources of pollution. So are you going to sit idly by? Or are you going to start asking the tough questions? Why is France driven out by the people sneaking back in through the window with its drones? Why are industrialists the only ones celebrating? And why are the mainstream media so quick to praise innovation, silent about its consequences? In the end, what this story reveals is a brutal truth. France, rejected from the Sahel, isn't really leaving. It's reinventing itself, robotizing, digitizing, droid, microfactories, FPV drones. These aren't just gadgets, they're the tools of a power that refuses to let go, swapping its soldiers for machines to perpetuate its grip. But at what cost? A war without a face, where the victims have names, families, lives. This isn't about technology, it's about power, control, imperialism 2.0. So, you, behind your screen, wake up. Ask yourself, do you want a world where drones decide who lives and who dies, while the powerful count their profits? Think, share, act, because the future of war is being shaped now and it concerns us all. France may have been driven out of the Sahel, but it's coming back through the skies, and it's up to us to say stop.